I never thought a broken arm could reveal such heartbreaking strength in a little girl. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. I can still see the playground, shimmering under the relentless sun. The laughter of children echoed around me, but all I felt was that sudden rush of air as my body tumbled down. One moment of carelessness, and then, the world grew silent. It was a simple fall, or at least that's what the teachers said. My arm twisted, and the sharp pain shot through me like electricity. A scream caught in my throat, but I could only gawk at my broken limb. My heart raced. I remember the faces looking down at me, their shock mirrored in my own wide eyes. There was my best friend, Mia, her hands trembling as she looked at my arm, then at me, searching for answers. "We need to call your mom," she blurted, her voice a frantic whisper. I could see the fear mirrored in her eyes, and it knotted my stomach. I felt like I was floating in a strange world, far away from the laughter. The hospital was suffocating. The bright lights felt harsh, with fluorescent shadows creeping along the walls. Nurses hovered around, their clipped tones muffled like distant thunder. My mom held my other hand, her grip tight and shaking. I looked into her eyes, searching for comfort. Instead, I found her worry, a storm brewing beneath the surface. "Promise me you'll be brave," she said, her voice barely a whisper, like she was trying to convince both of us. The doctor came in and talked a lot about bones, fractures, and recovery. But all I could think was, how could such a tiny girl like me be so broken, and yet feel so strong? I could see the sympathy in the doctor's eyes as he signed my cast. Everyone thought it was a tragedy, a horrible accident. But what they didn't know was the fire igniting in me, the spark of resilience brewing beneath the surface. I could feel it. Days turned into weeks with my arm wrapped snugly in plaster, but it wasn't the cast that held me together. It was the glimmers of hope, a strange sense of power I never had before. I discovered a new voice within me, louder than my pain. I rose above the whispers, the concerned glances, even the tears. But then came a call to the principal's office, an announcement that sent pulses of anxiety through the halls. Something was happening, I could feel it in my bones. What lay behind those closed doors? Why did the teachers whisper when I walked by? And then, on the worst day yet, a boy I barely knew approached me. "Did you hear? They found out the truth." His tone turned conspiratorial, and I leaned in, heart racing. About the accident, it was more than a fall. What did he mean? A chill shot down my spine. There was more to this than I realized. More than I could handle. And with every passing moment, the mystery deepened. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I woke up the next morning, the oppressive silence of my room wrapping around me like a suffocating blanket. My arm throbbed, a constant reminder of my vulnerability, of the fall that had shattered more than just my bone. I had to confront the fragments of fear inside me, questioning everything I thought I knew. What did that boy mean? What truth could possibly linger in this chaotic web of whispers? At school, the air felt thicker, lingering like the scent of a storm. Every glance held a weight I couldn't decipher. The laughter of other children rang hollow, it felt like a distant echo I couldn't quite reach. I tried to focus on Mia, who, bless her heart, was unwavering in her support. She bounded to my side like a sunbeam, brightening my darkest moments. "Are you ready for recess?" She smiled, but there was apprehension behind her eyes, wifeying a storm brewing just beneath the surface. I could see it clearly in the way she flitted from foot to foot, her small hands fidgeting with the hem of her shirt. That I am not sure, I murmured, looking down at my cast, the pristine white now marred with doodles and signatures, a testament to friendship. But I was still scared of the rumors, scared of the stairs, scared of being at the center of something I couldn't understand. Come on, it'll be okay, she encouraged, taking my good hand and leading me outside. The playground was lively, filled with children tossing balls and climbing on jungle gyms, but my heart sank at the sight. I spotted groups huddled together, whispering, their eyes darting back to me, their gazes heavy with unheard judgments. That it didn't take long before the whispers became a roar. They rose like waves crashing against my fragile state. Can you believe it? Someone giggled, she probably fell because she wasn't paying attention. Clumsy. I winced, the name-calling spiraling like a whirlpool, dragging my spirit under. But there was Mia, standing firm. Hey! That's not nice. You don't know what happened. She shouted, her small frame demanding attention, which only led to more laughter and poking fun at both of us. Suddenly, the boy from before emerged from the crowd, his gaze icy and piercing, drawing all eyes to him. You all don't know the whole story, he sneered, his lips twisting into a smirk. It wasn't just a fall. Someone pushed her. His words shattered the already fragile air around us. My breath caught in my throat. What did he just say? My mind raced. Who would want to hurt me? I felt the weight of disbelief settling on my shoulders, as if the world were compressing around me. In a heartbeat, Mia's anger morphed into worried. Is that true, Cassie? She asked, eyes wide and panicked. I don't know, I stammered. The wind howled, carrying the laughter of kids and my heartbeat in sync, echoing through my ears. How could I confront a truth I didn't even understand? Fear gripped me, but beneath it, a flicker of defiance ignited. I wouldn't let whispers bury me. With shaky resolve, I stepped forward. Who pushed me? I questioned, my voice firm yet timid. The moment I asked, I felt a rush of vulnerability flood me. As I prepared for the answers that lurked within the shadows, the boy shrugged and turned, revealing the first inklings of cruelty within the crowd. A distancing began, the edges of my world unfurling into chaos. As eyes darted back and forth, I noticed a girl on the edge of the crowd, one I hardly recognized. Her expression was drenched in remorse, lips pressed tightly as she held back tears. Just then, the bell rang, a sharp reprieve from the tension. As children scattered in all directions, I felt a hand slip into mine. I turned to find Mia at my side, her face drawn, her worry palpable. I'm so sorry, Cassie. I should have done something sooner, she whispered, squeezing my hand tight. A rush of warmth bloomed between us, a solidarity that helped forge a pathway through my stormy heart. But just when the flicker of hope began to spark within me, the girl I'd seen suddenly stepped forward. Wait! She called, her voice slicing through the noise. Every head turned, silence falling heavily. I was there that day, she breathed, her gaze steady and unwavering. I know what happened. My heart thundered in my chest as realization washed over me. His could be the moment where everything changed. Every doubt, every fear, hinged on her next words. What truth lay hidden beneath her brave facade, and would I be ready to face it? The corridors of the school felt like a battlefield as I stood frozen in the aftermath of her proclamation. The girl's voice hung in the air, charged with tension and anticipation, a fragile balloon filled with secrets waiting to burst. All around us, fellow students exchanged uncertain glances. The smirk had vanished from the boy's face, replaced by the spectacle of unexpected drama. Mia squeezed my hand tighter, her eyes wide with curiosity and concern. What do you mean? She finally asked, her voice barely a whisper. I could sense the knot tightening in my stomach. I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer, but a part of me craved the clarity that had always felt so elusive. The girl stepped closer, her hazel eyes glistening in the faint light as she brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. My name is Sarah, she said. I wasn't part of what happened, but I saw it. I saw everything. Her words trembled, the weight of what she was about to reveal palpable. The crowd shifted slightly, as if they were collectively holding their breath, waiting for my reaction. I could feel every heartbeat echo in the silence between us, a countdown leading to some devastating truth. "Cassie," Sarah continued. "You were with a group of kids, and everyone was being loud and then someone, I can't see their face, but she faltered, her voice cracking under the weight of her memory. "They pushed you." I didn't know what to do. I was scared, I didn't want to get involved. "Who pushed me?" The question hung heavier than before, but I had to know. "Was it someone from school?" "I don't know," she admitted, looking down as she fought back tears. "It all happened so fast, but I didn't remember until today. I just felt guilty, you know? Like it was my fault for not saying anything." A fresh wave of confusion washed over me. Why wouldn't she speak up, especially if she regretted not doing so? The truth felt like a tangled thread, unraveling with each passing moment. "So that's it?" I replied, the bitterness rising in my throat. "You just wait until now to tell me? To tell everyone?" I was scared. She exclaimed, emotions spilling over. "I thought if I said anything, they'd turn on me too. I'm sorry." Her vulnerability stirred something within me, a flicker of something I couldn't quite place. An unexpected kinship, perhaps? Or maybe a deeper pain, knowing that there were others just as lost as I was, looking for a way to step out into the light. Mia, my rock, stepped in. "It's okay, Sarah. We all get scared. But maybe now we can figure it out. True friends help each other." Her words rang with a tenderness that wrapped around us like a comforting shawl. In that moment, I realized that while the truth was bitter, the intention behind her confession was genuine. I saw something in her, a raw strength buried beneath her fear, reminding me of my own. "Okay. Let's try and figure this out together, I guess," I muttered, feeling a flicker of resolve, a promise that I would not let this drive me into an abyss. There has to be someone who can help. Just then, the bell rang once more, breaking the heavy silence. A few students began to retreat, but the girl remained, eyes pleading as if she carried the weight of the world alone. I instinctively reached out, offering her a small smile steeped in understanding. "Maybe we can meet again after school and talk more?" I suggested, feeling the embers of hope rekindled, even if just slightly. Life was tumultuous in this bizarre limbo, but perhaps here, in this uncertainty, we could forge a fragile bond. Her face brightened, though there remained a shadow of hesitation. "Yeah, I would like that," she whispered. I could see Mia nodding in agreement, a small smile breaking through her worry. As the day dragged on, a flicker of strength glimmered in my heart, reminding me of the resilience stirring within. Maybe this broken arm, this broken world would lead me towards something stronger, something I could hold on to. It wasn't until I trudged home, my mind swirling with thoughts, that the new wave of anxiety surfaced, a nagging feeling of being watched. As I turned a corner, my breath hitching, I caught a glimpse of familiar eyes lingering in the distance. The boy who had started it all stood there, his expression inscrutable as he leaned against a tree, shrouded in shadow. "Cassie," he said, a ghost of a smirk playing on his lips. "I think you're starting to uncover more than you bargained for." My heart raced at his words, an icy jolt running through my veins. Clenching my fists, I took a step back. Was the truth about to get murkier? Would I ever truly be safe? Everything once again threatened to cascade into chaos, leaving me trembling on the edge of an unfolding storm. The afternoon sun cast long shadows as I stumbled down the block, the eerie feeling of being watched gnawing at me. I had thought that understanding the truth behind my fall would bring clarity, a sense of control at the very least, but as I stood there staring at the boy who had lit this fuse, I felt anything but in charge. "Why are you here?" I shot back, my voice quivering more out of fear than defiance. My mind raced with scenarios, threats, taunts, maybe even an empty promise of friendship masked in deception. "Just checking in," he replied, pushing himself off the tree but not approaching any closer. There was a faint innocence to his tone that made my skin crawl. "You're opening a can of worms, Cassie. Just trying to warn you." "Of what, exactly?" My heart thumped harder in my chest, almost drowning out the world around me. I could feel Mia's warmth fading next to me as she took a step back, unsure of what to do with this sudden confrontation. "Of what you might find," he said, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Some things are better left buried." I hated how his ambiguity sparked a simmering rage in me. It felt like I was on the precipice of knowing something big, something that came with consequences I wasn't prepared to face. "I'm not afraid of the truth," I shot back, even as doubt prickled at the corners of my resolve. "Oh, I think you should be," he laughed softly, tilting his head as though he could peer inside my crumbling defenses. "Don't make this worse for yourself, Cassie. You might not like what you find when you start digging." Confusion intertwined with fear, and his words settled into my mind, heavy and suffocating. It was the uncertainty, not the knowledge itself, that terrified me. I didn't want to uncover something that could bring more chaos. I had already felt so broken, I wasn't sure I could handle another blow. And just like that, he pushed off the tree, strolled away, and left me standing there with my heart pounding, a vortex of feelings swirling within. "What was that about?" Mia asked, her brow furrowed, trying to inject reason into the spiraling chaos that was my mind. "I don't know," I admitted, shaking my head, the weight of angst pressing down on me. "But he knows something about what happened, and it's not something good." Mia placed a comforting hand on my arm, a grounding force amidst my rising turmoil. "Then we need to figure out what it is. We can't let him intimidate us like that, Cassie." I nodded, grateful for her steadfastness, but as I stepped forward my heart sunk. The path ahead felt more treacherous with every passing moment. That night, sleep was elusive. I tossed and turned, haunted by fragmented glimpses of faces in the crowd, whispers layered with accusation. Each time I closed my eyes, Sarah's trembling voice echoed in my mind, repeating the same haunting line, "I can't see their face." Just as I began to drift into a restless slumber, a rattle came from the window. I jolted awake, my heart racing again, the shadows dancing around my room melding into figures. The evening sky was pitch dark, strangling the comfort out of their edges. Slipping out of bed, I peeked through the curtain and gasped. A figure stood in the darkness, unmistakable despite the distance. The boy, his silhouette stark against the faint glow of a streetlight. My breath caught in my throat, adrenaline coursing through my veins. What was he doing here? Without thinking, I opened the window, only slightly, just to hear what he might say. "Cassie," he called, his voice low but edged with an urgency that stirred my curiosity. "We need to talk." "About what?" I shot back, a hollow tone masking my trepidation. "About Sarah. You should know she's not who you think she is." Panic surged through me, gripping me tighter than ever. "What do you mean?" "Just come down, and we'll figure this out." Everything inside me screamed to run away, to slam the window shut and forget this confrontation, but an instinctive pull toward the mystery held me captive. It was as though he knew something significant, a piece of the puzzle that if obtained, would shine a light on the path forward. Against my better judgment, I crept to my door, the floorboards creaking under my weight as uncertainty washed over me like a tide. I hesitated, staring at my reflection in the dim hallway light, poised between that world of safety and the thickness of the unknown gathering just outside my window. In that fleeting moment, the enormity of my choices rested heavily on my shoulders. Do I confront the truth, even if it leads to more pain? Or do I walk away, leaving a web of uncertainty woven around me in preference for peace? As I slowly opened the door, I couldn't shake the knowledge that my choices from that moment forward had the potential to shatter the fragile glass of my already fractured reality. Heart pounding, breath hitching, I whispered to myself, this could be the biggest mistake of my life. And stepped into the night. The cool night air wrapped around me like a shroud as I made my way down the stairs, each creak of the old wood sounding like a warning signal. My heart was racing, pounding in my ears, as I opened the front door and stepped outside. The boy was leaning against the fence, his breath visible in the coolness of the evening. "Cassie," he said, his voice softer now, almost pleading. "You need to hear what I have to say. It's about Sarah, and why do you care?" I interrupted, a sudden surge of anger blurring my hesitation. "You've been nothing but cryptic and unsettling. Why are you suddenly so invested?" He looked down, almost regrettably, as if my words had struck a chord. "Because I've been where you are," he admitted, his gaze lifting to meet mine. "I didn't think I could survive, either. But then I found out what the truth meant, what it could set me free from." His eyes flickered with an unexpected tenderness, and despite my reservations, I couldn't help but soften just a little. "What do you mean by that?" I asked, my voice dropping to a whisper, scratching through the thick tension between us. "My sister, she's gone, Cassie," he said, each word a weight that hung thick in the air. "And it's all because I didn't dig deep enough when I had the chance. I let her go without understanding what was really happening. I thought I was trying to protect her." The tremor in his voice was palpable now, drawing me closer into his spiraling truth. A shiver ran down my spine, and I felt for the first time that maybe he was more than just a harbinger of dread. Maybe he was a mirror reflecting my own turmoil back at me. "What happened?" I breathed, longing to unravel what might connect us as we stood in the loneliness of the night. "I can't say," he murmured, running a hand through his dark hair in frustration. "Not yet. But you deserve to know about Sarah. You deserve to know that your pain isn't just yours alone. There are forces at play that are beyond you and me, and they're wrapped around her tightly." "What does any of this mean?" I pressed, desperate for clarity amidst the turmoil of uncertainty that clouded my mind like a storm. "It means you have to be careful," he replied. "You're stronger than you realize. But strength comes with scars, sometimes invisible ones." I didn't realize how deeply ignorance could hurt until it was too late. Suddenly, the weight of his words folded over me, every syllable ignited by unshed grief and a fierce protectiveness that resonated with my own turmoil. I thought about Sarah, how often her laughter seemed like a fleeting treasure rather than a constant, how often I'd pushed her pain aside to hold on to illusions of joy. With a steely resolve beginning to awaken within me, I shook my head. "I need to know. I want to understand, not just for myself but for her." My voice trembled, buoyed by newfound resolve as I took a small step closer to him. "If there is something to uncover, I can't run anymore. I'm done hiding." The boy's expression shifted, the sharp edges of his face softening as he studied me. "You're braver than I ever was," he whispered, admiration shimmering in his eyes. Before I could respond, a soft sound broke the night, a quiet sob mingled with a desperate plea. We turned simultaneously, searching for the source, and saw a small figure huddled beneath the streetlight. My heart dropped as I recognized her, a girl no older than 10, with tangled hair and wide, terrified eyes. "Help, please, help me," she cried, glancing between the two of us, the night swallowing her tiny voice. Without hesitation, I rushed toward her, fear sparking in my chest, not for my safety but for the child standing in the dark alone. "Hey, it's okay. What happened?" I knelt down in front of her, trying to project some semblance of assurance despite my racing heart. "I lost my way," she sniffled, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "I was looking for my brother, and I don't know where he went." I glanced back at the boy, our eyes locking for a shared moment of understanding as he, and before we knew it, we were surrounding the child, enveloping her in our reluctant warmth. "Let's help you find him," I said gently. "What does he look like?" "I got lost when it got dark," she shivered, and my heart clenched as I felt the heaviness of her despair. The boy took a step closer, his voice steady now. "We'll figure it out together, all right? You don't have to be scared." As we began to search the shadowy streets, a flicker of hope ignited in the darkness. I still felt the weight of the boy's cryptic warnings and the uncertainty of Sarah's connection tethered around us, but in this moment, with this lost child, I felt something shift. For the first time in a while, the promise of kindness felt tangible in the air, but just as we began to walk, I caught a glimpse of movement out of the corner of my eye. A hooded figure observed us from the edge of the alley, just beyond the light. My breath caught in my throat, a chill running down my spine as I recognized the unmistakable silhouette. With a jolt, panic flared in my chest. Was it Sarah's brother? Or something darker? The possibilities unfurled like dread-soaked vines, choking any fragile sense of hope I had managed to nurture. I turned to the boy, my voice low and urgent. "Do you see that?" He nodded, and in that shared glance, a sense of impending doom settled over us, thick and suffocating. The night was far from over, and the truth was lurking ominously in the shadows, waiting to ensnare us in its grasp. The night air hung heavy with tension as we moved cautiously toward the shadowy figure at the edge of the alley. The little girl, once trembling with fear, was now silent, clutching my hand tightly, her tiny fingers digging into my palm. I could feel her pulse, a rapid heartbeat echoing my own, instilling an urgency that rippled through the three of us like an electric current. "What do we do?" I whispered to the boy, my heart pounding as I struggled to keep my voice steady. I didn't want to frighten this little girl any further, she had already been lost too long. "We approach carefully," he replied, though uncertainty dripped from his words. He took a step closer, grounding himself, and I mirrored his movements, instinctively protecting the child. As we advanced, the figure, still cloaked in mystery, shifted slightly, revealing a glimpse of pale skin framed by shadow. My breath hitched as recognition flared within me, urgent and visceral. "Ryan?" I murmured, fear lacing my tone. It was Sarah's brother, the missing piece of a puzzle I had not yet fully acknowledged. "Cassie," he spoke, his voice low and gravelly, a stark contrast to the wailing innocence of the little girl beside me. "What are you doing out here with her?" "We found her lost," I explained, keeping my gaze steady on him, though the uncertainty churned in my stomach. "She's looking for you." His expression flickered between relief and something darker, an anguish evident beneath the calm exterior he was trying to maintain. "You shouldn't be involved in this. It's not safe." "Neither is she," I shot back, frustration igniting inside me like wildfire. "We can help each other. Whatever is going on, we can face it together." He hesitated, glancing warily at the girl, who whimpered softly, unable to understand the gravity of our exchange. That sound pulled at my heart, forcing warmth and empathy to flood my senses. I turned back to her, kneeling so I was eye level. "What's your name?" "Lila," she whispered, her voice small against the backdrop of our heated exchange. "Lila," I repeated softly, hoping to convey comfort and strength. "Do you know where your brother is?" She looked up at me, her eyes wide, and an unsettling sadness pooled within them. "He got hurt. He told me to run." A chill swept over me, the words leaving a cold imprint on my mind. "Hurt? What do you mean?" But just as Lila was about to respond, Ryan stepped closer, his expression shifting from concern to an intensity one hadn't seen before. "Lila, we need to go. Now." I felt a flash of resentment at his abruptness, but there was also something unsettling in his urgency, a desperation that echoed my own fears. There were dark things hidden in the night, and it was becoming increasingly clear that we were not alone in this struggle. "You can't just leave her," I protested, fear wrapping around my words as I clung to Lila's hand like a lifeline. "Cassie, I understand. I really do," he pleaded, those sorrowful eyes piercing through my resolve. "But I don't know how safe you are right now. You don't understand what we're up against." "Then explain." My voice rose, filled with a fierce determination that surprised even me. "If we're going to do this, we need to know what we're facing. We can't run blindly into the darkness." Ryan's gaze flickered between Lila and me, weighing options that seemed to stretch beyond our immediate reality. "You don't know what's happening. It's not just about me or Sarah anymore. It's about things beyond our control. My heart sank as anger clashed with fear, the flickering hope I had clung to threatened by a tide of uncertainty. I stepped closer to him, willing him to understand. If you're keeping something from us, it will only hurt Lila and Sarah more. We have to unite, not divide. For a heartbeat, silence enveloped us, the air thick with unspoken truths wavering on the precipice of revelation. In that moment, Lila tugged at my sleeve, eyes brimming with a blend of fear and trust. Please, can we find my brother? With a heart engulfed in tumult, I nodded, the calm urgency dragging us forward. Ryan drew a deep breath, the tension in his shoulders easing as he seemed to consider something deeply rooted, a choice made. All right. We go together. But keep Lila close, and stay alert. Before we could begin, however, the darkness seemed to deepen, shadows converging unnaturally under the once comforting streetlights. A noise echoed, a low rumble that sent chills down my spine. I spun around just as a flicker of movement caught my gaze. The hooded figure from moments before was now charging toward us. Run! Ryan shouted, breaking the terror-induced paralysis. I clasped Lila's hand tightly, my heart racing with the urgency of survival, and we darted down the street, the boy leading the way, propelled by a surge of adrenaline and fear. As we fled, I felt the ominous weight of uncertainty tracking our every move, the shadows chasing us as though they weren't just part of the night but harbingers of something far darker. Suddenly, pain shot through my arm. I stumbled, looking down to see the sharp edge of my bracelet had caught the flesh, a stark reminder of the physical and emotional scars we all carried. But before I could compose myself, Ryan swung back and, without warning, scooped me up, urgency etched on his features. Stay with me. He shouted, his voice strong amidst the chaos, and I felt a flicker of hope ignite in the back of my mind. But just as the weight of uncertainty began to pull at my heartstrings, an even heavier realization struck me. Lila was not following. She was frozen, eyes wide with fear as the approach of the figure behind us drew closer. Lila! I screamed, the desperation raw in my voice, just as darkness engulfed her. The last thing I saw was her terrified face, swallowed by shadows as I was pulled onward, caught in a desperate race against time and fate as an unspeakable mystery loomed ahead of us. The only thing I felt in that moment was pain, and the devastating knowledge that the night held far more than I had ever anticipated. As the breathless echoes of our escape raced through me, adrenaline surged like a wild river, a contrast to the bitter chill that now lingered in my heart. I had let go of Lila's hand, her small warmth slipping away into the dark, and now fear drummed a relentless rhythm in my chest. Where was she? I could still see her face, eyes wide and luminous, drowning in a sea of shadows. Behind us, the hooded figure pursued, tearing at the fabric of our world. Ryan's grip tightened around my waist, his determination radiating through our frantic flight, but all I could think about was the little girl who had been so resolute in her trust moments before. I didn't know how far we'd run, but with each step the chilling reality that we might not get her back sank deeper into my bones. Do you see her? I panted into the night, desperation flavoring every word. I can't. Ryan began, but just then, he skidded to a halt. In front of us lay a small courtyard cocooned by walls, the distant glow from a single streetlight casting an eerie illumination over broken concrete and scattered debris. There. He pointed toward a glimpse of pale fabric fluttering just beyond the edge of the courtyard. The moment he released me, I charged forward, my pulse hammering in my ears. My feet felt heavy, as though the shadows were dragging me back, but I pushed through, focusing on that flicker of white. Lila! I cried out, my voice trembling with hope and despair in equal measure, and then, amidst a tense stillness, I saw her crouched beside an old, rusted dumpster, her small frame trembling. Relief surged through me, but it was short-lived. She was not alone. The hooded figure from before stood not 10 feet away, towering and menacing as he extended a gloved hand toward her, low murmurs escaping his hidden lips that I felt the world around me dim as terror coiled in my stomach. Ryan! I shouted hoarsely as darkness clawed at my vision. Without waiting, he sprang forward, determination ablaze in his eyes as I followed instinctively. Together, we descended into the moment where time expanded, where every heartbeat echoed like thunder. Get away from her. Ryan's voice erupted into the courtyard, deep and fierce, and the figure turned ever so slightly, confusion flitting across its obscured features. Stay back. He commanded, his authority like a candle flickering defiantly in a storm. You want me, but she's not part of this. Let her go. But Lila wouldn't budge. The moment our eyes met, I recognized the terror raging behind her gaze, the way her small hands trembled as she pressed them against her tiny ears. This wasn't just fear, this was the kind of fear that froze hope in one's chest. With a suddenness that made my heart leap, the figure advanced toward her, and every nerve in my body ignited. No! I screamed, rushing forward, rage surging through me like fire. But Ryan's arm caught May's grip vice-like as he pulled me back. Wait. We need a plan. He urged, fear lacing his tone. In that instant, it was evident we were no longer fighting purely for our survival but for Lila's innocence and right to freedom, her chance to remain untouched by the darkness swirling around us. But before he could elaborate, movements from the shadows swung ominously into our view, 3 more figures emerging, each equally cloaked, each presence stealing the breath from my lungs. My heart sunk. We were now cornered, yet amidst the chaos, a flicker of memory sparked within me. Sarah, her laughter echoing through the corridors of my mind, a glimmer of our unbreakable bond. Ryan, we can't let them have her. Remember, Sarah wouldn't want this. The truth wove itself into my urgency as I glanced at Lila once more, her eyes pleading as they locked onto mine. His eyes narrowed at my words, as if he was piecing together fragmented understanding. He looked back at the figures closing in on us, determination hardening his expression. You're right, it's us against them. Ripples of courage surged through us, and we planted ourselves firmly between Lila and the encroaching figures. Then, embracing the weight of every moment that had brought us here, every shared moment of fear, every fragment of hope, Ryan shouted, "Run, Lila," and she ran. Her small form darted through the narrow space between me and Ryan, a dream of emerald light against the backdrop of darkness, every step a testament to her strength that surpassed her physical size. But as she rushed past, everything distorted in a flash. A cauldron of terror and confusion glared back as a hand swiftly reached out and caught her by the collar of her shirt. Time seemed to slow as I let out a scream, an anguished cry that echoed through the night air, but just as quickly, the sound was drowned by the vortex of turmoil as the figure lifted her, the shadows swallowing her whole. No. The world around me shattered like glass, particles of panic swirling in the chaos surrounding us as I dashed forward, shaking Ryan's grip off me. But he was right behind me, both of us propelled forward by a shared purpose, united against the dark. Yet darkness doesn't yield easily. In that abrupt, unforgiving moment, Ryan lunged toward the figures, adrenaline warring against logic as he pushed me aside. I collided with the unforgiving ground, stunned as a blinding light erupted from the cloak's folds, illuminating the courtyard with an otherworldly glow, and then silenced. In that paralyzing void, I could hear nothing but the pounding of my own heart and the faint, desperate breaths of my racing mind. My gaze shot upward just in time to see Lila enveloped in the light, the figure's hands still clasped around her collar, but she was unharmed, standing there as if defying gravity itself. "What are you?" The words died in my throat, horror surely painting my face as I registered the impossible. The darkness seemed to hesitate, retreating as if afraid of what she was becoming. A pinprick of hope ignited within me, illuminating our darkest hour in a way that felt both surreal and painfully real. But before I could grasp it wholly, a guttural rumble broke the stillness, a sound that promised more darkness to come. And there, in the flickering light, I saw Ryan and Lila. Lila, shining, powerful, yet still so small, a beacon in an abyss. But as their gazes locked, something shifted, something that hinted at a truth we had yet to uncover. Just then, another figure dislodged from the shroud, stepping forward towards the light as if it was an extension of their own, and my breath caught. I recognized that silhouette. It was Sarah. Time fell away, snatched from our very grasp as the revelation loomed before us. Was she alive? Bound to the darkness unknowingly? All the questions coiled tightly within me, each answer a thread leading to new terrors, and then the air split with a spine-chilling realization the connection between Lila and Sarah was more than mere chance. I couldn't shake the feeling that the darkness, the figures, they were pulled into our lives, interwoven into a tapestry that was too twisted to unravel, but with that thought flaring within me, another explosion echoed through the night, the shadows lunging forth, darkness and hope battling in a tempest of despair. My heart raced as I faced a moment that blurred the lines of fear, love, and unimaginable strength that I would protect Lila and Ryan whatever it took. But as uncertainty flooded my veins, I grappled with the truth looming ahead. Our connection was deeper than I had dared to dream, we were bound by a choice that might change everything, and as the darkness charged, I couldn't shake the feeling that the end was but a heartbeat away. The world around us shifted, shadows contorting like nightmarish wraiths eager to claim us all. I fought against the darkness, grasping at straws of courage as the icy hand of doubt clawed at my resolve. Ryan's breath was labored beside me, but his eyes were locked on Lila, who stood at the center of that blinding light, a small figure surrounded by unfathomable forces. The flicker of hope I had felt dissipated into a cold dread when I saw how the darkness recoiled, seemingly aware of her awakening power. It was a revelation intertwined with terror. Lila was not merely a vulnerable child, she was the embodiment of something far greater, a shield against the very darkness that sought to claim her. Stay close. Ryan's voice rang out, breaking through the din of chaos as he pushed me backward, blocking my view momentarily. I could only imagine the horror he saw unfolding in front of us, trying to hold both of us steady amid the nightmare, but what could I do? I was suffocating in paralysis, torn between the need to protect Lila and the urgency to figure out what had happened. I turned to face her, her tiny figure glowing within the overwhelming sphere of light, her expression a mixture of confusion and a youthful defiance against the encroaching dark. It was a sight that twisted a fierce protectiveness into my chest, a primal instinct to ensure that no harm would befall her. Lila. I called, feeling like a moth trapped between the warmth of the flame and the urge to flee. Can you hear me? You're brave. You can do this. For an agonizing moment, I thought she might retreat in fear, but my heart surged when she squared her shoulders, her tiny hands balling into fists as she took a step closer to the shadows. I could see the resolve building in her eyes, a fierce light igniting a spark of something that connected us all. And then came that echo of voice, slightly different from the figure's guttural tones, soft yet commanding as it broke through the chaos. Child of light, stand firm. You possess the strength to drive them back. As the words wrapped around us, Lila's entire demeanor shifted. The once trembling little girl became an embodiment of resilience, her presence growing with every heartbeat. The shadows hesitated, almost as if they were assessing a threat long concealed. They recoiled, forming a wall of darkness, unwilling to concede this battle but sensing the shift, just as I thought this moment could only be penned by destiny, the overwhelming shadow at the center lunged. Ryan reacted instinctively, thrusting himself forward to protect her, but with a swirl of cerulean light saturating the air the darkness exploded outward, sending us reeling. That I staggered, but my gaze never left Lila. She stood unyielding, the glowing aura tightening around her, and even amidst the mayhem, we exchanged a potent understanding. We were fighting together, a convergence of might against a force that thrived on fear. My heart raced when I suddenly heard Ryan call my name. Grace. Look out. I turned just in time to see another shadow barreling toward me, tendrils reaching for my ankles. I couldn't breathe, but before I could react, an unexpected rush of warmth enveloped me, grounding me as if reality had bent to protect me. I turned, astonished, to see the soft glimmer of Lila radiating toward me. She had somehow stretched her power to shield me, and I felt the tingling warmth of her embrace pushing back the darkness. What I gasped, grappling to understand how this fragile girl wielded such extraordinary strength. A pang of guilt struck me. Was she truly safe, or was she putting herself at greater risk for my sake? Ryan, momentarily shielded by the glow, opened a small passageway toward Lila, eyes wide with determination. Grace, we need to get her out of here. Now, I nodded, panic entwining with hope as I urged myself to push forward, to reach Lila. Together, we would forge a path through this night, but just as we were about to breach the encroaching shadows, a sudden draw, like an icy vortex, pulsed through the courtyard. Lila's light flickered and dimmed. A wave of sadness washed over me as I grasped the enormity of what was happening. The darkness wasn't just an enemy, it was a tangible force connecting all of us. I grabbed onto Lila's tiny hand just as she began to wobble back under the weight of malevolence pressing on her. "Stay with me, Lila," I urged fervently, squeezing her hand with all the strength I could muster. "We're going to make it through this, don't let go," she shouted back, the fierce spark in her eyes hazy yet fervent. "I can feel Sarah." The mention of Sarah sent another ripple of realization through me. "What do you mean?" "Feel how?" But before she could respond, the figures surrounding us let out a chilling wail, their collective shadow bending toward us like a starved beast eager to engulf its prey. Aware of the connection that bound us and the threat we posed, the panic became palpable, echoing in every heartbeat, and I felt the weight of my choices pressing down with unbearable heaviness. The earlier light had dimmed into a cavernous expanse, and Lila's assurance began to feel like a faint shimmer, one that seemed ready to fade, but just then, something unusual erupted from the depths of the darkness, shifting the dynamic in an unexpected way. A flash of silver glinted through the gloom, sharp and unyielding like a sliver of bone. It was a symbol of something forgotten, something that hinted at a past too intertwined with our present. "Grace!" Ryan shouted, and as the shadows surged forward, I recognized that what emerged was not a friend, but a crown of thorns, a barrier thrown down by the remnants of past battles. A weapon that spoke volumes about sacrifice and pain. With my breath caught in my throat, I knew that the final confrontation was barreling toward us. Stranded between the urge to run and the insatiable pull of truth, I glanced at Lila, the strength coursing through her, the pain still seeping from my own heart. And then, just as the ground quaked beneath us, I felt the dawning realization of a choice forming, desperate and specific. To seek our salvation would mean confronting the shattered past, one that had led us here. In that moment, the darkness lurked enticingly close, and I sensed that both the struggle and the answer lay within our intertwined fates if only we dared to face it. But did we have the strength to accept what was being offered? As the shadows lunged, devouring both light and hope, the answer remained lost, shrouded in the very fabric of destiny itself. The darkness surged, swallowing the cries of anguish and determination that echoed in the stillness hovering around us. Time seemed to fracture, each heartbeat carrying a weight that felt all too familiar, resonating with memories I had tucked away long ago. I could see it now, the shadowy figures, every jagged edge a reminder of the wounds left open by betrayal, loss, and moments I had buried deep in my past. I closed my eyes for a brief moment, attempting to steal back the resolve I felt drifting from me like smoke in the wind. "Grace!" Ryan's urgent whisper broke through my reverie, his voice tethering me back to reality. "We can't let them break her spirit. We have to hold on." The icy grip of fear wrapped tightly around my heart, yet there was a flicker of warmth igniting within, a bond formed through shared trials. Lila was no longer just a frightened child, she was the embodiment of lost dreams, of innocence amidst turmoil. I needed her as much as she needed me. "Lila," I whispered, squeezing her tiny hand, finding my strength through her. "You're not alone. We're a team, remember? You don't have to fight this battle alone." In that shared moment of vulnerability, I felt her presence lift, drawing strength from both my words and our connection. "I won't let go, Grace." Her voice rang with a fierce resolve, echoing through the shadows enveloping us, but just as hope began to flicker like a punctured light bulb, a new weight descended. The shadows thickened, rolling in waves like an engulfing fog, carrying the sounds of lost souls wailing in pain. My throat tightened as I glimpsed figures in the gloom, faces flickering in and out of focus, a haunting reminder of my own haunted past. Each one held a story, a reason for my heartache, a thread connecting me to the darkness around us. "Grace?" Lila's voice broke through once more, fragile but unwavering. "What are you feeling? I can sense something. It's like they're crying out." "What do you mean?" I gasped, grappling to understand. "What do you feel?" "I think they're hurting," she replied, eyes narrowing with newfound insight. "We can't just fight. We have to listen. Their pain is tied to ours." The truth cascaded down like shards of glass, sharp yet illuminating. Hadn't I buried my own pain for so long? The stark reality of our shared suffering invited me to confront it, seek out compassion even within darkness. We had to understand our enemy to find a way through. A sudden surge of courage propelled me forward. Ryan, we need to channel Lila's power. It's not just about fighting. It's about understanding. The look on his face shifted, a flicker of doubt crossing his brow. But Grace, can we really trust that? What if there's more darkness hidden beneath the pain? There's only one way to know, I replied firmly, my voice reflecting both fear and determination. I knelt beside Lila, grasping her petite frame with an unwavering grip, my heart steadying with every passing second. Lila, let's try to reach out. Can you feel them? Their sadness? As she closed her eyes in concentration, I felt the echo of her spirit intertwining with mine, a delicate dance of light and shadows. I could only hold my breath, praying that we were not only protecting ourselves but also unearthing a hidden reservoir of empathy that had been glossed over by hate, and then it came a scream weathered by pain, louder than the chaos surrounding us. It filled the air, vibrating through the ground and into our bones. The source was oppressive, yet I felt my heart break open as Lila's power flickered in waves, warming the space between us. We have to give them a voice. We must offer them comfort. The shadows shifted, the chilling wails transforming into something that felt almost like a melody, the crackling of despair breaking through to reveal an eerie beauty. The faces of those once lost within the haze became clearer, each one telling a story etched with grief, of broken hope stretching into a horizon we barely seemed to understand. Keep going, Lila. You're doing it. Ryan's voice was filled with urgency, the dedication renewed as we held on to this fragile thread. I couldn't feel apprehension anymore, there was only a serene acceptance as we stood together, united by a purpose greater than ourselves. But just as we began to glimpse a path emerging from the shadows, a terrible sound ripped through the air, the metallic clang of chains and twisted cries, flooding our senses with renewed raw terror. The shadows roared back, more ferocious than before, enveloping the light we had ignited with fresh darkness. Grace! Ryan shouted, panic-laced urgency in his voice. We're losing control. We can't let them take her. And I felt tendrils of darkness latching onto Lila's shining aura, pulling her back toward depths from which she had only just begun to emerge. My heart lurched as I felt her presence wane, and panic seized my chest like a vice. No. Lila, fight it. I cried, desperation fueling my voice, a prayer woven in the fabric of my soul, but as I reached for her, the shadows surged with a vengeance, roaring in unison with one final, cruel twist, their shape melding together, forming the most twisted visage of betrayal I had ever known. A familiar face emerged from within the chaos, framed in glowing light, a haunting specter of my past, one I had thought lost to time. Grace, it echoed, the voice a cruel mockery of the love I had once known. Did you think you were safe? The darkness was never meant to be conquered. It feeds on your weakness. In that moment, confusion blended with fear as I glanced at Lila, whose glow extinguished before my eyes. The shadows writhed profusely, Lafinga cacophony echoing the deepest recesses of my own trepidation. With Lila slipping away from us and the specter of my past looming over, the fight was no longer just a battle against external forces, it was a furious clash within myself and the desperate hope I held that redemption could be forged through pain. As despair gripped my heart, echoing the lost years, I understood that the answers were not about confronting the shadows, it was about embracing the light intertwined in the darkness. And as I stood on the precipice of that realization, the ground beneath me shook, and I felt the weight of betrayal press against my spirit, daring me to confront not just the shadows surrounding us but the specters of my past that hunted my every move. We were close, yet so far away from the truth, and as Lila gasped for air amidst the tide of darkness, I knew that in this moment something had to give, whether it be light or shadow. And nothing would stop me from fighting for her, for us, no matter the cost. In the climax of chaos, every heartbeat echoed like an avalanche rushing toward an inevitable end. The shadows surged, their darkness clawing at every corner of my mind, attempting to drown out the remembrance of hope we had ignited. I clutched Lila's hand tighter, desperately pulling her energy toward me, a fragile connection tethering us amidst the overwhelming onslaught. The specter of my past loomed in front of us, mocking the very essence of my existence. That it had always been there, an echo of uncertainty, a representation of everything I feared becoming. "You're weak, Grace," the specter hissed, its voice a sharp dagger cutting through the unbearable silence. "You think you can protect her? You couldn't even protect yourself." The weight of those words slammed against my chest, squeezing the breath from me. I'd spent so long burying my past, hiding from every painful moment, and here it stood, the embodiment of every failure, every regret I had ever felt. Lilith's light flickered beside me, shimmering under the weight of the dark visage, and with that flicker, a bittersweet resurgence lit up my spirit. Anger fueled by love surged through me. "No!" I shouted. Boldness replaced rage, entangled in the belief that Lila and I were more than mere victims. "You don't get to define us." My voice broke through the heavy chant of the shadows, the cacophony swirling around me distorting perception, but there remained a flicker of my own illumination now harnessed within me. That flicker was more than a simple glow, it was a blazing reminder of everything I had fought to regain. It was a connection not just to Lila but to everything I desperately sought: forgiveness, understanding, strength, love. "Get away from her!" I screamed into the abyss, galvanizing my resolve alongside Lilith's fading brightness. In that moment, a wave of determination washed over me, brightening against the despair crowding our surroundings. "Lila, use everything you have. You are stronger than this darkness." As her small voice echoed alongside my words, the shadows trembled, momentarily halting their advance. "Grace, I feel them!" Lila exclaimed, focusing her essence toward the darkness that pressed upon us. "They don't want to hurt us, they're hurting. They need us." For the first time in ages, a realization blossomed within me, methodical yet pure: acceptance. Acceptance of myself, of my past, my mistakes, not just darkness but a spectrum of pain and healing intertwined like a tapestry. The ghost before me, the specter of doubt, wafted like a fragile shroud. It was time for me to awaken. "No more. I choose to illuminate the shadows," I declared, pouring every ounce of our shared strength into my words, the knowledge that unburdening the darkness was the only true way to liberate us from its grasp. As if I had summoned long-lost spirits of hope, the ghosts encircling us faded momentarily, and within the luminous depths of the night, I reached deep inside myself. "I forgive you." The words escaped my lips, a mantra rising from despair to liberation. "I forgive you." With each declaration, I saw Lilith's aura rejuvenate, shimmering vibrant as the echoes of our combined truths rippled through the chaos. I turned to Ryan, who stood resolute at my side, his eyes aflame with an understanding forged in struggle. "This isn't just about fighting, it's about letting go." The tendrils of darkness retreated, sensing that their dominance was faltering. My breath shook, raw and fragile, but strong enough to push back. "You can't have us. We choose love. We choose understanding." My voice resonated, sweeping across the shadows, unraveling their grip. The figure's expression shifted, confusion washing over its face, and in that frozen moment, the ability to reclaim our power was ours. I felt Lila respond, her light pulsating alongside mine, entwining into a shared resolve that embraced every scar and tear. "Take our voices!" Lila shouted, pure strength pouring through her tiny frame as she gathered the courage to stand tall. "Let them guide you toward the light." In that instance, everything warped around us. The specter shrieked. Furious, but it was drowned out by the shift in energy coalescing into something remarkable. Words echoed like a chorus of hopes claiming their place: "You are not alone. Feel their pain, but don't let it conquer you. We rise together." Suddenly, shadows began to disintegrate, dissolving under the incandescent glow radiating from Lila and me. Each flicker of light pushed further, unshackling deflated souls from the chains of despair they carried. I could see their faces emerge, freed from the torment woven through the night like a thread unspooled. I felt the connection binding us all tighten. We weren't just grasping for our liberation, we could help others as well. With every declaration of truth, every released fear, Lila rose not just in essence but in spirit. The spirit of shared strength wrapped around you, impelling the darkness to crumble apart. We will not be defined by your shadows. The stockpiled power grew until it reached a beautiful zenith, coalescing like stardust around us. It enveloped Lila completely, illuminating the space as it pushed deeper into the fabric of the night, shattering every remnant of despair and replacing it with the tangible clarity of hope. And then, in a dazzling burst of brilliance, light engulfed the remnants of the darkness, exploding outward in a night filled with cascading clarity. The shadows dissipated into flickers of nothingness, evaporating into specters that had only mirage-like power over our hearts. We stood breathless, licking our wounds yet grounded by resolve. I turned to Lila, who grinned back at me, eyes alight with the wonder only innocence could hold. "We did it," she breathed, laughter exploding like wildfire in the air. "Together," I murmured, tears of joy welling in my eyes as I pulled her into a hug, warmth enveloping us both. Our connection felt palpably an unbreakable bond that had flourished amidst the darkness, and then a hand clasped mine, Ryan's familiar grip solidifying my presence in the moment that would forever alter my path. We stood united, surrounded not by the chaos we had fled but a tapestry woven from the pain, strength, understanding, and love that illuminated our reality. In the aftermath, as we embraced the waning light of night, I turned to Lila and Ryan. "No matter what happens," I said softly, "we will always find the light even among the shadows," and in that soft yet powerful acknowledgement, I realized, every scar told a story, every flicker held meaning. We were not defined by the marks upon our skin but by the strength with which we choose to rise and embrace the dawn, and I would carry that truth as my new light. That night, under the blanketing stars, we forged forward into the bloom of a new dawn, no longer haunted by the shadows of our past but emboldened by the journey yet to come. And I knew then, love would guide our way, illuminating every path toward healing as our hearts sang together the resilient melody of forgiveness and acceptance, an everlasting bond forged from the brilliance inside us all.